Hi everyone, and welcome back to another series of Illuminating Primary Care, a podcast for GPs and healthcare professionals. Now, as many of you may already know, my name's Thomas. I'm the divisional manager here at Menlo Park, and our focus is primarily on the international side of the business. Now, today I'm joined by Mr. Lee Hutchinson, an individual who's lived across multiple areas in Canada, so a fantastic guest to have on the show to provide you all with some real life insight into what life out there could be like. We're going to dive into a few different areas, and Lee's going to give us a really clear overview, especially in the stunning city of Vancouver. So if you're wondering what Canada's really like, beyond the brochures, the job adverts, and obviously just little clips that you can see online, this episode is for you. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Lee, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Awesome. Now, before we dive into Vancouver, Lee, could I ask you to give us a quick overview on what drew you to Canada in the first place?
Yeah, so essentially, one of my close friends from high school emigrated out there with her family, with her younger brothers, kind of what a lot of GPs will be doing. So I was lucky enough to be able to visit and stay with them throughout about over a decade, 15 years. I lived with them for about 5 to 6 months, every now and again, whilst I was in my youth, and I could do that. But it gave me a really good understanding of Canada, and lived in Vancouver with people that lived and worked in Vancouver. So it wasn't a holiday, it was living as Canadians and as people who live in Vancouver would. And fell in love with the city. I class it as my second home. And I absolutely adore it. I think it's an incredible place.
Yeah, wow. So I guess, kind of starting at the beginning, what were your impressions when you first arrived, when you first got off the plane and saw the place?
Yeah, so I think for me, I've not really left Europe before at that point, but and I landed in just after Christmas. So seeing the huge, Rocky Mountains, snow-capped against the backdrop of the skyscrapers of the city, it was incredible, and it was just a wow moment. And then my friend lived in North Vancouver, which is just over the famous Lionsgate Bridge. And just traveling through the city into the suburbs, I was just thinking, wow, this is an incredible place. And I just knew I would absolutely love it. So yeah, and that's why I went back year after year after year, because it is just that good.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place, and as you've mentioned, it really does. Sound like a wallpaper on the wallpaper background, or laptop background, or pictures of people got in the house and things. It really is like a postcard. So yeah, it's a great vibe over there. How did you, feel, to kind of live there? What was your initial kind of thoughts? Maybe in the first kind of couple of weeks when you'd moved over.
Well, for me, I had a nice. I had my friends, her parents, her siblings, but obviously you've got to orientate yourself, figure out where you are, where the best transport routes are into the city, what's going on locally. So obviously you just orientate yourself around that. But Canada's so friendly. Canadians are so lovely. It is incredibly easy to fit in and settle very quickly, and they're very. It's easy to make friends. So some countries, I've been told, it's difficult to make friends as an adult. Canada's not like that. Everyone is very chatty, very genuine, and they want to be a friend. It's got a very good culture like that. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's really nice to hear that as well, actually, because from what I've experienced, the Canadians are very laid back, and people are very friendly. So it's nice that I've been on the ground here in the UK and I've experienced that, but obviously for you to actually go over and experience that firsthand, is really reassuring, especially for our listeners that are planning to actually make this move.
Yeah, I mean, genuinely, they talk to you in the restaurants, the bars. They've got a nice cafe culture as well. Really fantastic. Eateries, etc., which I'm sure we'll touch on later on. But yeah, everyone talks to you everywhere. It's not an ignorant place. Everyone's very, very friendly.
Yeah. No, brilliant, brilliant. And I guess kind of touching on what it's like over there. A lot of our listeners today will be thinking about obviously the lifestyle change.
Mm.
So one of the questions that I know that a lot of people ask me is around the work life balance.
Hmm.
How did you find that? How was that for yourself?
Yeah, well, I think Canadians did do work hard, but we do
Yeah.
in the UK. But they find time um, to enjoy the outdoor lifestyle because
Hmm.
the thing is it's literally on your doorstep. It's
Hmm.
not like in the UK where you have to drive 2 to 3 hours to get to a national park. In Vancouver, the beach is literally a maximum 15-minute walk drive, depending on which part of the city. The mountains are 10, 15 minutes. The forest is 10 to 15 minutes, you've also got Stanley Park, which is the largest, I think, second largest city park in North America. So it's, I think,
Wow.
might be the same size as Central Park in New York, but it's, I've been to New York as well, and it's much nicer. You've got the huge redwood trees that are hundreds of years old. You've got the Citylife Museum in there as well. It's just
Mm.
everything is so accessible.
Yeah.
Um, so I think they make it work. You can do a full day's work and still be on the beach at 5:20.
Yeah.
So it's just it's wonderful.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's yeah, everything that you said, I completely agree with. It's you've got that really nice work-life balance when you do go home, you can switch off, spend
Yeah,
time with your family.
yeah.
As you say, depending on the individual, there's plenty of walks, as Lee's been mentioning, and beaches, paddle boarding. It's
Well,
just a very much
yeah. I
outdoors lifestyle,
mean,
isn't it?
what can you not do? Yeah, you can. The hiking is incredible. There's a particular spot that I went called it's called Grouse Mountain, so Grouse
Yep.
Grind, which is a ski resort in winter. And then you've got Mount Seymour, which is next door, which is another ski resort, which is literally just outside the city limits. It's half an hour from downtown.
Oh,
So in
wow.
winter you can ski. In summer you're on the beach. There's also a lot of people don't know this, but Canada has a desert, which is about a 4-hour drive east of Vancouver. So if it's 25 degrees in Vancouver, it's 35 degrees there. And we've got a beautiful lake there, and it's surrounded by vineyards. Um, and it's there called the Okanagan, and they, basically grow the most beautiful wine, most beautiful cider, which is Canada's not known for either, but it's
No.
incredible. Um, and yeah, it's just got something for everyone. Any kind of sport you like. Canadians are very active.
Hmm.
Um, because it is a very outdoor city. So
Yeah.
everyone's always going for a run or a hike, yoga, swimming in the sea. They've got
Yeah.
beautiful Olympic pools as well on the seafront. If you want to, to have an actual swimming pool, swim.
Wow.
So many different neighborhoods. There's absolutely something for everyone, which is
Yeah.
obviously why I love it so much.
Yeah, wow, wow! It sounds amazing. It really really does. And
Yeah.
even just obviously from you talking about it here, it sounds like a dream.
Mm.
A lot of the clients that I've got, they'll send me pictures of themselves on the beach with the family, or I've got one that goes cycling and sends me
Mm.
pictures, and the nature around him is
Yeah. It's
absolutely
it's
stunning.
very very much part of the fabric of the city.
Yeah,
It's like a city surrounded by nature,
yeah,
and immersed in nature, I would say as well.
yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I was going to ask you kind of, what you ended up kind of doing on the weekends, but I guess you've just kind of listed off of, there about,
Yeah,
all the things that you can do, going up to the mountains, going to the beach,
yeah.
obviously going to the vineyards, which I think people have to pull me away from. But yeah, it's like having that holiday, destination, that
Hmm.
holiday lifestyle, just as the norm on your doorstep, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, and even like the mundane things we all do as adults, and after the jobs you need to do around the house. Like if you go into the city, you've got Granville Island, which has got the most
Yeah.
beautiful food market, which is kind of like Borough Market in London. I would kind of say
Hmm.
similar kind of vibe. But then you've got obviously Robson Street, which is full of all the shops. You've got lots of malls. You need to get some stuff for the house.
Hmm.
There's Gastown, which is a really high end, beautiful part of Vancouver, which has got some beautiful bistros, restaurants, and you know the city itself caters for everything you want.
Yeah.
And obviously there's so many different areas to be lucky to explore. Really.
Mm. Yeah, no, it just sounds amazing. It
Yeah.
really, really does just sound, fantastic. And I guess that kind of takes us on quite nicely to talking about, the kind of culinary scene. Really, it's
Mm.
going to be a question that a little bit I wanted to kind of cover with you,
Yeah.
because I get asked a lot. We have a lot of uh, different types of individuals that obviously will be moving over, different ethnicities and things.
Hmm.
So how did you find the food scene over there?
So I mean, food in Canada is taken quite seriously in terms of the quality of produce.
Yeah.
So they try and source everything locally. I'll be honest, when I went over, I was shocked by how incredible the food was. In terms of, I didn't know much about Canada before I went. It's not somewhere I'd really Googled even.
Yeah.
But even the restaurants, it's served beautifully. You can tell the quality of ingredients is amazing. There's such an
Hmm.
eclectic availability of food from every single nationality and culture you can think of because it's an
Yeah.
incredibly diverse city. It's very much welcomed in Vancouver. They are so proud of their food scene, and obviously, seafood being on the Pacific coast is the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got something for everyone. Particularly love the waterfront bistros and restaurants that are
Hmm.
just looking out onto the sounds and the numerous places like that in Vancouver, or obviously the high-rise, nice, swanky restaurants that you might want with a view of the whole city. It's got
Wow.
absolutely everything, or even your little neighborhood locals. That even they are exceptional. They choose like the more
Mm.
regional dishes that are local to Canada. But yeah, it's got like little tea rooms, coffee shops, which the coffee shops are incredible over there also. Um,
Good
I would
coffee.
say, yeah, very good coffee. Very good coffee. There's a chain called Delaney's, which is everywhere all over Vancouver, and yeah, they are wonderful. The cinnamon rolls, though, are very dangerous because they are addictive. They do a very good cinnamon roll in Vancouver.
Yes, you can pull yourself away then early.
And well, let's just say I didn't leave as slim as I arrived, but it was amazing.
There's worst things there, but
Absolutely.
it sounds like there's a lot for anybody, no matter
Yeah.
obviously what you're looking for, whatever kind of cuisine that you need,
Yeah.
um, kind of whatever level really as well,
Absolutely.
which is awesome,
Yeah.
because I do hear an awful lot about there are fantastic restaurants and
Mm.
there's great farmers markets,
Yeah.
from what I hear as well.
Mhm.
You mentioned about obviously the cinnamon rolls, Lee. Was there anything else that kind of stood out to you specifically?
Well,
Places that you'd maybe recommend.
yeah, so well, this is not very highbrow, but I love the Earl's chicken wings. They are incredible, but there's just so many lovely uh, like restaurants on the waterfront,
Hmm.
just outside Stanley Park. They're too numerous to really go into individually, but I like Granville Island. There's some beautiful restaurants there. Um, but I used to predominantly in North Vancouver, and they've got quite a few, obviously, independent places there. But as I say, genuinely, you could walk into pretty much any restaurant, and I can guarantee it'd be fantastic.
Yeah, wow.
Um, and it's got something for everyone, as you say, every
Yeah.
single dish that you can think of. But you do have to try the sushi because it's renowned, controversially, as being the best sushi in the world.
Yes. Yes,
Um,
I have
so,
heard that.
Obviously, the Japanese would argue that, but because we've got such a good water quality, and also they
Hmm.
have such a nice level of immigration from Japan and from Asia,
Hmm.
it's authentic. And the produce, as I said, because Canadians really value the quality of produce, those two combined just create insane quality, and it's just
Yeah. Yeah.
fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, it really does sound like a bit of a foodie heaven,
yeah,
if you will, really.
yeah,
So for all those foodies that are listening, that are tuning in, yeah, it sounds like it's certainly a place for you as well.
yeah.
And I guess obviously, touching on the food side of things, it's good to kind of look into, kind of move on to the family life, really.
Mm,
We've spoken about obviously what people can do,
hmm.
but for GPs that are making the transition with families,
Hmm.
partners or kids, what's it like over in Vancouver?
Yeah, so my my friend's family, she had two younger brothers, one in primary school, one in high school. So they went. Younger brother went through the full Canadian system
Yeah.
because he was young, and her brother went through primary, end of years of primary and
Okay.
secondary.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, it's a very easy transition for them to make. Um, controversially, they were in the top sets when they went over because the UK system is a little bit probably less relaxed as Canada. So the British kids were assimilated very well into the system and were not held back, is what I'm trying to say. They were very much the top of the class. And yeah, super safe schools, super safe neighborhoods, a really family friendly and family orientated culture. You know, they still have lollipop ladies over in Canada, in Vancouver, definitely anyway. And, you know, it's a really lovely culture around schools. All the mums get together, all the dads get together.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, again, it's just well, he's a friend now because he's grown up over in Canada. He still lives in Vancouver. Yeah, he loved school and the universities as well for older adults. It's got 3 universities at Vancouver. Canadian universities are very, very well respected.
Yeah.
But obviously, you've got the US over the border. It's a 2-hour drive to Seattle from Vancouver. And then obviously, the kids could always come back to the UK to study as well for higher education. But yeah, it's wonderful for SEN kids as well. They've got a really good program for SEN kids. And again, incredibly supportive. And I can't really recommend it anymore. I mean, obviously, if I was a GP, I would be going over there, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a beautiful place, and it's good that they do support, you know, all types as well, and you know that people have got, you know, the ability to kind of go to these different range or different caliber of schools, you know, just like here in the UK.
Yeah.
You know, you've got the private schools and obviously, you know, the more public schools. You know, a lot of GPs do end up putting the kids through these private schools purely down to the fact that they are making so much money anyway.
Yeah.
You know, but it is one of these where it's good to hear that the schooling side of things and the, you know, child's education isn't going to be impacted, you know, in a negative manner from moving from the UK over to Canada. And other than schooling, you know, how would you talk about the kind of family life? You know, maybe you know partners going out on dates. I know it talks about a little bit about obviously, you know, the education, but things of the food. But you know, what else is it that they could do? What else is it the kids could do, kind of in their off time when they're not at school or
I mean,
weekends?
yeah, I mean, a lot of the kids, they do the usual stuff like go to the mall, but a lot of the kids seem to be outside a lot as well.
Yeah.
As I said, the restaurants and everything are really family friendly. There's loads of after school kids clubs as well, which is very similar to the UK. They've got swimming at the numerous leisure centres as well. A lot of sports after school. It could be track, it could be swimming, it could be, you know, basketball, for example.
Yeah.
So they do the extracurricular that you'd expect it that we do over here as well. But yeah, it's like I say, it's super family friendly and family orientated. So the kids are very much welcome everywhere they go.
Nice.
They're not kind of excluded from a fancy restaurant. They're kind of expected to be part of package with the parents. So, yeah, it's like I said, the family units are quite close over there, I would say.
Yeah, no, that's really nice to hear. Really good to hear. And I guess with it being very safe, it's almost, you know, you said there already about how kids are out and about and, you know, they're kind of playing outdoors and things. You don't see that much, you know, here in the UK. I think a lot of kids are now kind of hidden away in the bedrooms playing, you know, on games and things. But, you know, I remember my childhood and, you know, probably yourself, Lee, as well, you know, where that's what we did. We were playing outside, you know, and it's nice to hear that that is the case over in Canada as well. And for them to be going out into, you know, out and about into the nature and things like that, you know, kind of from, I guess, unless someone's living in the city centre itself, you know, from kind of some of the suburbs, you know, how accessible would you say it is, you know, to kind of get out into, you know, these kind of country parks or these kind of green spaces?
Oh yeah, getting 15 minutes from most areas. You've got a nature park, you know, a beautiful river going through somewhere that's going through canyons.
Wow.
Stanley Park's huge. That's pretty much on the edge of downtown, but you can get to it from north, west, east. But again, outside Vancouver itself, it's the Rocky Mountains, it's the forest.
Yeah.
So it's literally surrounded by nature. So within half an hour, if you want to get really remote, that you would be quite remote in half an hour, 45 minutes. If you head north towards like Whistler, for example.
Yes.
So my favorite spot is probably Deep Cove, just on the North Shore.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And yeah, I remember that. And every time I visit, I always go there because it's got a lovely little town around it, little village. And it's like the Lake District in England, but with higher mountains. And it's just, it's beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Be great for photography in that case.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just envisioning, you know, the peace and quiet that you can get really just within, you know, as you say, half an hour. Go and sit there, obviously in the peace and quiet, whether you're on a beach or, you know, kind of out in the wilderness. Yeah, it really does sound like a dream. Lee, and you know, everything that you're describing sounds absolutely phenomenal, which is great. It sounds like it's ticking the boxes, obviously, for, you know, young families. You know, even with kids that are older. You know, we've mentioned obviously there about the schools and, you know, how the education system is fantastic as well, and just obviously, you know, how you know, these GPs can quite literally finish work and just go off and enjoy their life. You know, it's not like here in the UK where you finish work and it's dark, it's gloomy, you know, there's nothing to do. You know, we all find ourselves kind of, you know, moaning for, you know, really most of the year about this. You know, it's what now, July, and I'm pretty certain that we're coming up to the end of July, aren't we? It's the start of August, but, you know, I'm pretty certain that we've had our summer. We've had a couple of days, and I think maybe 10 days of sunshine, and that's it done. So yeah, it's nice that obviously people can just obviously enjoy their life an awful lot more.
Yeah.
Now, I was going to kind of mention around about, you know, kind of things to do, and I guess we've kind of covered it quite well. But maybe you can kind of elaborate on some of the events. You know, I know it's a big question that people kind of ask me is, okay, when I talk about the beaches and I talk about, you know, going off into the mountains and, you know, going off cycling and things, they kind of ask me, they're like, okay, well, where can we go? Where, you know, what else is there? That can be done?
Well, you've got all the major things that a big city would have. So you've got the Vancouver Art Gallery, which is world famous. It's beautiful. I think it's Edwardian building. You've got the planetarium, which is called Science World, and that's quite an iconic building in Vancouver. You'll probably see it lit up on a lot of the posters. You've got BC Place, which is where the Vancouver Whitecaps, the local football or soccer team, play.
Yeah.
But that's where Taylor Swift plays, for example, when she's in town. It's a huge arena. You've got the Rogers Arena as well. Then you've got the Citylife Centre, which I've been to as well, which is wonderful. I just remember the beluga whales, the white whales, for some reason. But then you've got all the Indigenous art as well, because obviously there's a lot of you know, Indigenous people in the area. So you've got beautiful totem poles that's scattered around the city. But yeah, it's literally got everything. And I feel like I should work for Vancouver Tourism Board, but I don't. It's literally, it's a nice size city, I would say. It's not too huge, it's not too small, but it benefits from having everything. So all your major artists play in Vancouver because it's you know, second or third biggest city in Canada. So everyone stops off there, and so you've got an ability to, you know, enjoy world famous artists, also local artists, and it's just it's that perfect size and mix, I would say, to get everything that you would want.
Yeah, no, brilliant. So kind of past the food, you know, past the outdoors life, you know, the biking, the hiking, you know, the beaches and things. And obviously, you're also kind of close to the skiing side of things, aren't you? You know, obviously,
so
up the mountains.
Yes, I've been to Whistler, which is I'd say about maybe an hour and a half, 2-hour drive north of Vancouver, which is obviously where the Olympics were, for Winter Olympics. It is probably one of the best ski resorts in North America. It's a lovely resort, some really good skiing. Again, really nice hotels, restaurants. It's the most beautiful drive up there. It's called the Sea to Sky Highway because you're going from the sea all the way up to the mountains. So sea to sky. And even the drive up there is incredible. Just to look out onto the sounds on the left when you're on your way up to, and waterfalls on your right. I'll be honest, we stopped off at quite a few waterfalls, which, in the UK you'd be on the M1.
Yes.
So,
Not as beautiful, is it?
No, you might have a McDonald's on your right. But yeah, but even that, for example, and one other thing I do need to touch on is obviously Vancouver Island, which is an hour ferry away. You can get a little seaplane over, and there you've got beautiful Chinese gardens. That's the capital of British Columbia, so you've got the huge, beautiful provincial government buildings, and they've got wonderful vineyards there as well. One of my friends who actually works for a vineyard out there. And then on Vancouver Island, you've got world famous surfing at Tofino. So if anyone's into surfing, they'll probably have heard of Tofino. And then what amazed me most about the way back was that I was on the ferry and there were killer whales jumping out the ocean next to the ferry. And,
wow.
And I'd never seen one before. And if you're going up to Whistler, you more than likely will see a brown bear or a black bear, but stay inside the car.
Yeah, it's just amazing. These the day trips that you can do, just sound phenomenal. It really does sound phenomenal.
Yeah,
and as you say, there's loads to do, loads to see. Art galleries, museums, music festivals and things. There's no shortage, and it's all within close proximity as well. Even kind of traveling 2 hours, just to kind of get into the mountains. It's not far.
It's a weekend trip.
Yeah.
We have to fly to France for skiing. You can just head up there for the day if you wanted. It's truly exceptional with what is on your doorstep in Vancouver. I would say it's like the best place I've ever been. I've traveled quite extensively, but because it has everything that you would ever want in a city, and most cities might have a beach, but they don't have skiing. They might have forests, but not have a beach. Vancouver literally has everything. So
everything. And even if you're not in the city centre itself, for those that don't want to be near Vancouver, but don't want to, live bang smack in the city centre, there's still, and this kind of takes us on nicely to what I was going to say about the transport links. There's still close proximity for driving, or there's things like obviously the SkyTrain, which I'm sure you'll be able to elaborate on. Which makes it really easy and quick as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, public transport's really good. Obviously, they've got your usual buses and things, but the SkyTrain opened for the Winter Olympics, and one thing that's unique about it is the driverless trains. So they're fully operated, I think, by AI now. But so you jump on at the airport, but it's an extensive network across the entire city, extending to all the suburbs. It doesn't go to North Van because of the bridge, etc. But they have a very unique sea bus, which you get on at Waterfront Station, just in downtown, and it's a 15-minute ferry to the North Shore, which is beautiful in itself. But it's very regular for commuters if they don't want to drive in to downtown and they're living on the North Shore. I think it's $6 return, maybe, so it's not expensive. And then you're literally downtown, and then you just walk to work from there. So, if you don't want to drive, you want to embrace that driverless lifestyle and live, in the suburbs, you definitely can in Vancouver.
Yeah. It's I think getting around from what I've read, what I've kind of seen and heard, it's very, very easy. And as you say, they've made it very accessible, haven't they? So, and pretty much the whole of Vancouver is pretty, especially the city centre is very walkable, which is good. And there's airport links as well. I'm not sure how you found it, Lee, but there's direct flights, to the UK, to
9 hours
places.
It's 9 hours, which it sounds a lot if you've only ever flown in Europe, but 9 hours is fine. And I think it's eight on the way back with the wind tailing you. But I mean, I didn't drive when I was over there, so yeah, I can attest to public transport, cycling, walking to
Yeah.
work. And Vancouver's a big city, but it's not so big
Mm.
that it makes parts of it inaccessible.
Yeah.
But yeah, we used to take trips to quite a lot of places in like I went to Chicago, Vegas, Seattle's a 2-hour drive over the border. I think New York's 4 hours. It would probably take longer to get to Toronto from Vancouver than it would to New York, strangely, with
Yeah.
the curvature of the earth. But yeah, you've got other airports over the border in the States, which you can just drive over the border, and the flights are a lot cheaper. But Vancouver itself has got direct flights to New Zealand, Japan, everywhere. It's a major airport, so you've got easy accessibility. I think you can even go to Fiji from Vancouver, which would be amazing. So, not that you need to leave, though, to be quite honest.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You got everything that you need on your doorstep,
Yeah.
which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. Perfect. And I guess obviously this is a question which I was kind of debating whether we should ask or not. But obviously we are a very honest, and the way that we want to be, the way we want to work is very honest. So on a open front, for our listeners, if there were any downsides, what would they be?
I mean, because it is consistently voted the top 5 cities to live in the world, there does come a little bit of a price tag with that.
Yeah.
I think as well, because it's the warmest city in Canada, a lot of people want to move there because in other parts of Canada, like the east coast, it can get to -30. Vancouver only gets to -2 in winter. So yeah, the price, the real estate can be on the pricey side, but our GPs, that won't be an issue because they're going to be earning so much money. So
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that would literally just be the only, and I'm not even, I'm being very genuine when I say that. The positives far outweigh any negatives with Vancouver. And obviously, if you choose to live a little bit further out the city, things are more affordable, as with any city. And I would argue it's probably cheaper than London and cheaper than Manchester to live there.
Yes.
So with the house prices and rents I've seen charged in the UK at the moment, comparable, I would say. But you earn more money. So
exactly.
Perfect.
Exactly. Whilst it's certainly not the cheapest of places to live, as you say, when you compare it to other cities, especially cities in the UK, it is on par with some, and a lot cheaper than others. So but we do have to take into consideration that obviously as a GP in Canada, you're going to be in that high, very very high earner. You're going to be in that kind of top percentage of earners across the country.
Yeah.
So when you start kind of comparing the like for like, you're going to be much better off. You're going to have a lot more obviously money kind of tucked away in the back pocket. Money to spend obviously doing things with family and putting into the cost of living for properties and things. And as you say, the lifestyle certainly just make up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of those things are free, by the way, that I mentioned. Hiking is free, the cycling is free, the swimming is free. So you're not having to, because it's raining all the time and cold, you don't have to nip into an expensive, kids park. It's a lot of these things are free. So it more than makes up for it, anything.
Exactly. If you're an outdoors lover, you want that kind of slower pace of life. You want that kind of healthy, greener kind of lifestyle, whilst earning more money. Whilst obviously having a better work-life balance. I think from what you're saying and from what we know, obviously Vancouver really does tick all those boxes.
And more.
As you say, and more.
Yeah.
So I guess obviously before we kind of wrap up, it'd be good for our listeners to that are considering this move, just obviously hear what else you'd have to say. Any kind of final thoughts that you would have about life in Vancouver.
I mean, I've only ever had the most amazing time when I've been there. I think the most overarching theme for me is I always felt safe there and welcomed, and it's just such fun. And so many possibilities and opportunities. I think the life you can have there is incredible. If I could move there, I probably would. But yeah, I think it'd be a very positive step for anybody, and everyone. I know there's family ties, etc., but everyone should at least consider it. And if you're seriously considering it, I would say you'd be a fool not to, look at it, because it's the most amazing city on earth, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, it sounds it. So I guess obviously what Lee's saying is, obviously, if you are considering it, do it.
Do it.
If you're looking for a place that obviously, as you say, does let you breathe, where obviously the work isn't going to consume you. It's time to obviously spend time with your family, live obviously outdoors, and earn obviously a lot more money. Then it sounds like it's worth every penny, and certainly something that, as we say, you should do. So, yeah, Lee, thank you very much for joining me today and giving an insight into life in Vancouver for our listeners. I'm sure it's been very eye-opening for many of them. And obviously, wrapping this up, I think a lot of them will already be packing their bags.
Yeah, let me fit in, please. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Now, obviously, before we wrap up, to all of our listeners, thank you very much as well for listening. If you are thinking of a potential move into Canada to GP, please do get in touch. Stay tuned for more episodes that are due to come. Not only will we assist you with sourcing a job, but we will actually assist you with the registration and the visa side of things, and also obviously with the relocation, looking into properties, kind of schooling, just really kind of making sure that you can plan and make this move with confidence. So if you do have any questions, please do reach out on the details that we provided below. And as always, until next time, thanks for listening.
Thank you.